Take 37. That's my favorite part. I want one of the clappers where it's like, take 137.
Look at this guy.
So good.
We're so good at this. Good job, Matt.
Keep telling me. What's going on, guys? Mat Fraser here with HWPO Training. Today, I'm fortunate enough to sit down with the newest addition to the HWPO family. We have Aimee Anaya Everett. She's going to be coaching the HWPO LIFT program. So she's in town this week, working with all of our athletes, filming content, basically just busting our humps for a week straight to get everything ready for you guys. So Aimee, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So, I already jumped over question one. What is your name? I think it's important to touch on. I know you hate it. I know I hate it when I have to do it. But just talking about your role in the weightlifting space. Obviously, you've been a part of the weightlifting world for a long, long time now and had a great career since you started. Do you want to just touch on some cliff notes and anything you don't say, I'll fill in?
Just now
This
put me
is
on
the worst
spot.
of like.
It is the worst.
Name
It's so
all
cringy.
of the things that you're proud of.
Well, I'm a senior international coach and for Olympic weightlifting, and I've been in the sport. This is my 28th year, so more than half my life. The first part of that, I started as an athlete, and then I started coaching about 15 or maybe 16 years ago. And I actually started coaching CrossFitters first before I started coaching weightlifters. Mm-hmm. I started coaching CrossFitters in weightlifting. And now I recently coached at the Olympics. And that was really fun.
First female coach
Yes.
to coach for Olympic weightlifting.
For America.
America, yeah.
So first American female to coach at the Olympics. So I'm pretty proud of that. Someone recently told me that there's only been 4, that number might be wrong, total women to coach at the Olympics in all of the sport all over the world.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. They could have just made it up.
Yeah. Regardless, still very impressive.
Yes, thank you.
And then right before we started, you had mentioned the coach of 16 American records.
16 American records, yes.
There we go. Okay.
And 2 or 3 Pan American records.
That's incredible.
16 American records is pretty cool.
So we already touched on it a little bit. I just want to go over some of your background in weightlifting. Obviously, you started when you were a teenager.
Yes, like a week after I graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm. And you actually got into it, correct me if I'm wrong, to improve your volleyball,
To improve
correct?
my volleyball, that's correct. So I had no direction. I just left home. I packed my little Honda Prelude full of everything I could. And
Honda
I left.
Prelude. Love it.
And it was gold. It was as gold as your HWPO shirt. It was so ugly. And I packed it and I moved to this small town and I just had no direction. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I went to a junior college just to sign up for classes, like summer classes. And I started doing a summer volleyball program. And the volleyball coach sent me to Mike Bergner, who was my weightlifting coach, because he used to coach a ton of volleyball players at that time. And they're like, you are this skinny little kid. I weighed 110 pounds, never lifted a weight in my life. And I went up to his house and he's like, see what he's doing? And he pointed to Casey and was like, I want you to do that. That's how I learned. I didn't get all the progressions and the nice things they have these days. He was just like, do what he's doing and put a barbell in my hand.
And I'm assuming this was skinny Casey when he was a 94 or
It was
105
still little
before
Casey.
he went up to supers.
Yeah, because gosh, he must have been 15 then.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Okay.
I was only 18 years old.
Wow.
I know. And so then I just started lifting and I was surprisingly very natural at it. I don't know how. I literally had never lifted a weight ever.
Yeah. That's awesome. What are 3 routine hacks that you have to get through the day?
Oh my gosh, for me?
Yeah, and this is something I'm actually very interested because you have so much experience coaching and seeing how you talk to the athletes, relate to the athletes, encourage them, whatever they need to hear. It's been so impressive watching. And so I'm sure routine hacks in terms of coaching, training, everyday life. Do you have any that stand out that
I think
apply to all the situations?
I think yes. So I think the last few months really particularly is I found myself slipping in a lot of areas. So for example, I try to teach my athletes like to focus on the positive of the day or like what we did right. And I felt myself really slipping, and I was like really focusing on the negative, and I realized I wasn't walking my talk. And that's something that I've really been focusing on lately, is walking my talk. Like, if I'm going to ask my athlete to do this, then I better do it. And I want to prove to them. And that's actually why I ended up doing Masters Nationals, because I just didn't have a direction with training. And I had on a whim was like, I'm just going to qualify for this, and I'm going to get ready in 7 weeks, and I'm going to break these American records, and I'm going to do this. And then like a weekend, I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to train this. I don't want to do this. And I was like, wait, but I said I was going to do it, so I have to walk my talk. But it's with everything. It's, it's like with my mindset or journaling or spending time to go. Like, so in the mornings when I wake up, before I get on my phone or anything, I try to go outside and do grounding. And that's like where you walk out on the grass barefoot, and you kind of, it's like some hippy dippy stuff that you like connect to the earth, right? And you it helps your circadian rhythm. So you connect to the earth, and then also the sun is supposed to wake you up before you get on your phone. And I try to do that, and I, and feed my animals, and then try to start my day in a way that I'm setting myself up for success. And I started doing that because that's what I was wanting my athletes to do, to wake up and set your intention for the day, or set 3 goals for yourself, and then go about accomplishing those things, whether it's personal goals or little things like I'm going to put my laundry away today, which I hate doing. Oh my God. And so that's been my most routine thing, I think, is really walking my talk. Basically doing what I'm expecting them to do, and be kind to myself in the way that I want them to be to themselves, but also making sure I've really, the past 6 months, especially since I started coaching Mal and Katrin and Jason, right around that same time, I realized that I wasn't doing a very good job taking care of myself first. So it's really okay, what do I need today to best set me up, to best be there for my athletes, whatever kind of day they're having, right? Because we never know when they're going to have a good day or a great day, or they're going to FaceTime me crying in the middle of a mental breakdown. So it's I need to make sure, or for my athletes that are getting ready for world championships in a couple months, or we're starting qualification for Maddie. And so it's what do I have to do? Olympic qualification, sorry. So it's what do I have to do to make sure that I'm in a good headspace today, so that whatever comes my way with them, I am equipped to handle that. And I think before, I just wasn't in a routine of putting myself first, because I'm a very selfless person. Everybody always comes before myself. And then I realized I was, what is it? You're pouring from an empty cup or something? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that makes sense. Applies to the situation.
Exactly. So it's okay. It's that saying where you have to put your oxygen mask on first before helping someone else.
Yep.
And I realized I was really slipping there. And then I would get frustrated, or I wouldn't have everything in me, or I would get emotional really easy. And, because you don't ever want your athletes to feel your stress or your emotion that you're feeling that day, and you want to make sure you're calm and all collected. But I felt I was having to work so hard to put on that face for them. And I don't want to be in a position to do that. I want it to be okay, I am taking care of myself so that I can take care of you. Yeah. And it's not only my athletes, but my husband or my daughter or my animals or my friends. I want to be in a good place so that I can be the best for them.
I feel like you're repeating conversations that Sammy has with me all the time of hey, you're meeting a lot of people today. Yeah. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeve, because that's just naturally what I do. I'm just if the day's good, I'm skipping around. If it's a bad day, I'm stressed, I wear it on my sleeve.
That is so true.
And Sammy's had it pointed out to me a couple times, hey, when you're going into the gym, you're not going in there for yourself. For coaching, you're there to provide a service for other people, and they're going to feed off your energy.
They will, absolutely. They'll feel your stress and your emotion.
And it's literally just being aware of it, and it's oh, okay, yes. I need to make and they're not big adjustments, but it's just things. Those little routines. I know for myself, it's more make sure I'm ahead of schedule, or I'm giving myself me time. Right. Because it's so easy to work from, 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. and never turn off. And then it's you rush to go to bed to get up and do it all again. It's nope, 6 p.m. We're making sure I'm shut off so I have a couple hours before going to
Yes,
bed.
so
And that's
important.
just like, that's how, for me, what I have to
That's what we've
regulate.
been doing too. We've been trying to do like a hard stop, and I'll yell it. I'll close
Yeah.
my computer and be like, hard stop. And then also like I try to take time in the day, like from 2 to 3 to go lay down and read a book or take a nap with my animals or whatever, just to kind of like suck it back, you know, like have a little bit more me time.
Have you always wanted to be an athlete or a coach? I think we kind of touched on this.
Oh, that is a hard
little
question.
bit.
You know, when I was an athlete, I thought I wanted to be an athlete. But I think that, like, once I started coaching and seeing how bad my athletes want it, like, I remember coaching China Cho, and I saw how bad she wanted it. Like, she was just willing to do anything to go to the games. And you know, when my first weightlifting athlete, Jessica Lucero, she's the first one that I got to Worlds. She would stop at nothing for her goals to come true. And I realized, and I was still lifting at that time. Like I had just made the world team, and I realized like, I don't want it like these guys do. Like I did it because I just thought I was supposed to do it. Like, oh, I'm good at this sport. Like I train hard. I have good work ethic, but I never like wanted it. And when I started coaching, it like all fell into place because I want it so bad for my athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember Jessica when she first snatched more than I had ever snatched. And she's like, are you mad that I snatched more than you had? And I was like, are you kidding? This is the best day of my life. Right. Like I was so much more excited for her snatching that and making it, for her, it was an American record than I ever was when I snatched it. And it's the same, like, I never wanted to go to the Olympics as an athlete. Like I would say, oh yeah, like maybe I'll go to the Olympics, whatever. But I never wanted it. And I was never willing to put in the work to do that because it wasn't a dream of mine. But once I started coaching, I was like, one day I'm going to coach at the Olympics. That's all I want. I am going to be the first female to ever coach at the Olympics. And I'm going to stop at nothing to get there. But not only for myself, because it was a goal of mine. It was like, something, you know, as a female coach, I hate to be recognized like, oh, you're such a good coach as a female. It's like, no, I'm a good coach. Yeah. And I don't want to be placed in that female category. But at the same time, I wanted to break down those walls to like these walls have been placed in front of us as females. And I want to break them down no matter what. And that was a goal of mine. But more than that, it's because I wanted so badly for Maddie to go to the Olympics because it was her dream.
Yeah. That's incredible. I love that.
So I wanted it so much more. And then I knew what it was like to stop at nothing for your goals. Like I will stop at nothing for Maddie to make the Olympic team. Yeah. Right? I will stop at nothing for Mal to win. And it's like, I want that so much more than I ever wanted anything for myself, like their goals. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a dose of that at the games this year. Yeah. Every event Mal would finish, I'm just a ball of tears over on the side. I'm just like, oh my, I didn't know I was capable of being this proud of someone else.
Yeah, it's just an amazing thing.
I think we already kind of covered what is your biggest accomplishment?
My daughter.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be inside the gym. I think
being a single mom and raising a child by myself without any family or any help. Yeah. But also, you know, like it's little things. Like it seems so natural to be like, oh, the Olympics, of course. Yeah. But then it's like, yes, that was an amazing accomplishment, and I can't wait to go back. Like I miss the Olympics. Like I cannot wait to go back. But it's like little things, like when I have this mom who trains in a gym and she has 3 kids and her life is so busy, she never wants to compete. She just wants to be the best lifter her garage has ever seen. Yeah. She loves the sport. It's an hour out of the day for her to do something for herself. And, you know, I had been teaching her about positive self-talk. Like, you know what? You don't have people around you to pump you up. So sometimes you just have to be like, I am just fucking going to crush this. I am so good at weightlifting. And you know, and seeing her, like, you know, snatch like 35 kilos or something, it's not an Olympic movement. It's not this, but oh my God, it just like makes me so proud. Yeah. And so it's like, I think that like anytime I feel like I've touched someone or I've helped someone, it's an accomplishment to me. Like it doesn't have to be, because I feel like saying, oh, yes, probably being a coach at the Olympics will probably be one of my greatest achievements. But I feel like when I say that, I almost feel like I'm diminishing all those other little achievements that still make really big impacts on people.
100%. Yeah, I think, just saying what is your biggest achievement, it's like you almost need to specify what is the arena. Is it in my athletic career? Is it in my coaching career? Is it schooling, work, family, whatever it is? Because I grew up with that. Like both my parents were Olympians. And if you ask them, what is your biggest achievement in life? I'm willing to bet dimes to dollars Olympics isn't going to be on that list. It's not going to be at the top of the list. Like I never saw them as athletes. I saw them as mom and dad. I saw them as two dedicated parents. And I'm willing to bet that they're more proud of their kids than they are of their like athletic accolades. For sure.
That's how I feel about my daughter. And I think like if I were to die tomorrow and someone were talking about my achievements, I wouldn't then want them to be like, oh, Aimee, she coached at the Olympics. I would want them to be like, Aimee has changed so many lives, or she has made so many athletes better, or she has done so many things. She was a good friend. And I think like all of those are achievements, right?
100%.
Like I would rather them say all of these great things about me across all of the things I do rather than like one specific event.
Yeah, I know. Like if I'm doing a meet and greet or something, most of the people, it's a handshake, how you doing, and kind of move on. And then every once in a while there's, the person that's willing to, start a conversation. And I've had more of the people like I watched something, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or like on Netflix or something of me. And they're like, that's what got me into the gym. And I lost 150 pounds. I changed my life.
Yeah, those things are amazing.
Like, oh my God. And it gets brushed over so quickly of like people say, oh, I lost 20 pounds. I lost 30 pounds. A lot of times it gets brushed off to the side, but then, so it almost diminishes when somebody says like, oh, I lost 200 pounds. Right. It's like, for most of us, we can't even comprehend the struggle that goes into that or how hard it is. So to even play just like this tiny little cog on the wheel role in that, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take that all day long.
And that's how I feel incredible. Too about mental health, because I'm like so open about talking about my own mental health and my struggles with severe anxiety. And I think like a huge achievement of mine too was when Maddie started talking about her mental health struggles. And like, she has such a huge platform and there's such a stigma attached to mental health. And I was so proud when she felt brave enough to be like, I struggle from mental health issues. And so like you said, with the body weight loss, which is a huge thing for people to take the initiative to like do something to lose weight. That's how I feel about mental health. It's like, it's so hard to break that stigma and to do something to help yourself. And when people tell me like, you're so real on your Instagram and you gave me the courage to like get help. Like that's just like, I could just put it all in there now. And be like, okay, my job is done.
Moving over more in the direction of, programming, HWPO LIFT. Do you have any general guidelines or theories that, when you start working with an athlete or when you start writing a program that you always apply?
Yes, I think that for me, it is so important to build a foundation. I think so often people don't have the patience or they don't want to take the time, which could be it could be three weeks, 3 months, it could be 6 months, and they don't want to take the time to like take a step back to build a foundation, to focus on lower percents, so lower intensity and higher volume, or to focus on really dialing in your movement. I think a lot of times people say, I want my technique to get it right. Why is my movement not getting better? But they don't want to take the time to like do the complexes and do the little things to build the positional strength.
To do the 65% complexes and sets.
It's not fun. It's kind of boring. It can be mundane to come in
good.
Every Monday and do the same thing week after week.
Doesn't look good on Instagram.
No, it's not a fun Instagram picture or video to show your 70% lift, and it doesn't get as many likes, but it's so valuable, and people overlook that so much. They don't want to spend the time. They just want to go heavy, heavy, heavy. And I think that those are times that you have to like put your ego in check a little bit, or like change up your Instagram like videos a little while.
Well, I feel like for so many people, I know for myself, it's just tough if it's brand new, if you're used to just going heavy all the time. And when you're starting out in weightlifting, yeah, you're going to hit PRs because it's a new movement. So as you get a little bit more familiar, you're always going to get those personal records. But then going in when you're like, oh, okay, I have, a 137 snatch or a 300-pound snatch. And it's like, you want me to snatch 200 pounds?
Yeah.
A lot of
4
times.
weeks?
Like, no, it's tough to trust that that's going to lead to more.
Right.
But I've seen it time and time again. You've seen it time and time again.
I
It's
do.
Like, yeah.
And sometimes you have to take 5 steps, even 10 steps back in order to come like this, because what's going to happen is you're just, people come in new and like you said, they PR every week and they're like, oh my God, if I had 5 pounds to my snatch every week in like 6 months, I'm going to be a world champion.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like this and not getting in better. And that's when you have to be like, okay, how do I get my position stronger? How do I get my movement more consistent? How do I get my, mental approach to the barbell better and more consistent? And sometimes that takes taking a bunch of steps back, refining that, working strength in different areas so that you can continue to rise, so that you can so that you're not just snatching 300 pounds once a week, so that you can then show up to a competition and snatch 355.
Yeah.
And it's not fun work. It's hard work. Weightlifting is hard, and you have to trust it and put in the work and work hard, and it will pay off.
Yeah. Yeah, I know towards the tail end of my career, like, watching other friends, and it's like they trained for, 14 months and then got a 2 pound or 2 kilo PR on their snatch and a 1 kilo PR on their clean and jerk.
Yeah.
And it's like 14 months, 3 kilos. And it's like, yep.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
like
game. That's the game of weightlifting.
As an elite athlete yourself, like, sometimes you won't get a PR for a year or 2 years, but you have to keep working. It's like, what can I do to PR? Or like, how can I make maybe 95%? I only can hit it every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the sky opens up and unicorns kiss rainbows all over us, and then we're like, yes, I can do it. But then like, oh, maybe now we make it super consistent.
Yeah.
And so that's really the goal, is to make those weights more consistent so that when they carry over to your METCONS and you can barbell cycle easier and you just get stronger, both in the snatch and the clean and jerk, but overall positional strength.
Yeah. For recovery work, just body recovery, mental recovery after training. What are your thoughts on it? What do you have your athletes do for recovery work? I
am big on recovery, and everybody's a little bit different. I love taking the off days. So like, let's say your Thursday is your rest day. I like to do massage or chiropractor or PT, whichever you feel works best for you. Mm-hmm. Like, I personally love going and getting a massage, and I love my chiropractor, like ART. I love doing ice baths. Ice bath is a big one. I know there's all this data out there. Ice baths are not great.
What's the frequency that you or your athletes ice bath?
If people have a cold plunge at their house, I'm all for even getting in it every single day after training for 5 minutes. If people don't have it and they have to like go to the liquor store and buy a few pounds of 20 pound bags of ice and put it in their bathtub, then I love to do it like once or twice a week, maybe on Thursday and Sunday, like on both of your rest days.
Yeah.
I love that. If you have the ability to contrast, that I like even more than ice baths. So that means if you have like a cold plunge and a hot tub, and you can, go in 2 minutes in the cold plunge, 2 to 3 minutes in the hot tub. But also recovery, I think, is really important for your brain too. So it's like something like, whether it's watching a Netflix series or reading a book, like something to get your mind off of training, or journaling, or doing mental training exercises. Like, those are all really important things to do on your days off too. We do a lot of visualization work. We do a lot of journaling work, like whether I give them a journal prompt or I give them something that's, to like, based on the week they had, or if they had an emotional breakdown. And then we do a specific exercise where I give them prompts and they have to write it out. And that's all important. Just taking care of your body and your mind. Sometimes people like to go, like on Sundays, for example, a lot of people have Sundays off, but like things like chiropractors close. So on that day, it's like, okay, maybe you go for a walk, or maybe you go on a date, or maybe you go get your nails done.
Just something
that's not
out of the gym.
Yes. Something that is not gym related, that can get you, that's more self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you said. Like, all these things are usually closed on Sundays.
Yes.
This is why years ago I started training on Sundays and taking Mondays off, was so that I had the availability. Like if I needed to go to the grocery store, bank, massage, PT, whatever it was, it's like, no, I do this on Mondays because
Yeah.
everything's open.
And some people like to take Sundays off. Maybe it's a family
Yeah.
day or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, maybe you can't, there's our massage places open. Maybe you can't go do that, but you can do these other things for self-care instead.
Yeah.
And that's all part of recovery, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Recover the
Yeah,
mind.
you're taking everything, all the words right out of my mouth. I'm just like, nope. Like I always have a Netflix show on the go. I
Yeah.
want it to be simple, mindless. Where it's like
Exactly.
I can just plop down after training and just
Off your
just
feet.
relax.
Relax the body and the mind.
How can getting strong in the Olympic lifts transfer over to METCONS and overall training?
Oh.
This question's like my bread and butter.
Well, I think you can help me answer this. I think because you were very successful at it, I think that it's a tricky one. I think that people don't trust that it will, because I think people think if I'm not doing 2 to 3 METCONs a day, how am I going to get better at doing METCONs? But it's like, well, wait a minute, because Olympic lifting is going to make you more balanced. It's going to make you more explosive. It's going to make you move better. It's going to teach you how to use your legs and not rely on your arms or your back. It's going to teach you how to be more mindful of your positions. It's going to make you more confident and consistent. All of that stuff carries over. First, the stronger and more explosive your legs get, that carries over to everything. And an example today, Jason was doing some kettlebell deadlifts in his Metcon, and he came over afterwards and said, I pushed through my whole foot instead of using my back. And I was so proud of that, because we have been working so hard to push through your whole foot and rely on your legs and not your back to take over.
Yeah.
Or your posterior chain, right? And it was I was so proud of that moment, because he's like, they felt so much better and they were so much easier. And it does carry over in so many ways, not just something like that, but I think mentally it carries over. But most importantly, it's going to make your legs feel stronger and more explosive. It's going to make you more confident in your movement, especially when you get into barbell cycling. And if you can move the barbell better, you're a perfect example of that. I mean, I've watched you for years, and it's like, whether you were doing, 500 hang snatches with a 2,000 meter row, whatever, your last snatch of the set looked just like the first.
Yep.
And it was consistency across the board on all of those sets. And it may appear like in the first round or second round, it may appear a little bit slower than the heave ho, touch and go, hinging. But you're able to sustain that movement for so much longer before burning out. And so come on.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So the two big things, one, the better you get at Olympic lifting, when it transfers over into, a Metcon, you're just going to be more efficient with your barbell cycling. And so the best way I came up to describing it, because in no sense of the word was I the strongest guy to compete at the games. Like there's no argument there. I was not the strongest. But I looked at, if we had to cycle, say, a 185 snatch, the other guy that's stronger than me is spending, say two points for every lift that he does. I'm only spending 1 point. So yeah, he's stronger than me to start out. He can move faster than me to start out, but he's burning out so quickly.
Right.
He's
That's
so
exactly what I
inefficient,
just said as my
using
example.
so much more energy. So then, well, yeah, like for myself, it's like, how often did I win the first round of a workout? Almost never. Like if it's a 3-round workout, I'm pacing it, and it's like, I know that person isn't as efficient. So I know my reps might slow down a little bit. I might not catch them as high at the tail end of the workout. Like my pull might just, kind of dwindle
Generally
away.
fatigue.
But my body positions is going to stay identical.
Right.
I know that whether I'm feeling fresh or I'm one step away from my deathbed, the 135-pound snatch is going to look the same.
Exactly. And you're able to use your legs and not fatigue your other parts of your body.
Exactly. So that's the efficiency. And then that efficiency trickles into longevity,
Injury prevention.
and injury prevention, all that good stuff. The other thing that I found when I first started CrossFit was I was able to pick up on so many more movements. I was going to say gymnastics movements, but it's more than just that. So much faster and easier.
Yes.
Because I knew how to use my legs and my hips.
I was just going to say your hip power is so important for everything.
I knew how to use my hips to move something that's in my hands.
So you mentioned gymnastics, but like even if your hips, if you learn, because you were an Olympic lifter and you have super explosive hips, did you feel like even that helped you with like something like bar muscle ups because you were able to explode better with your hips?
So it was the principles, the coach I had all through the beginning stages of CrossFit, beginning stages of my weightlifting. The cue is always arms like ropes, like ropes. Like
yes,
your
I use
arms
that too.
are long and loose. And so I was able to, when I jumped up to do a chest to bar, I'm able to keep my arms long and loose, let my hips do as much work as they can, and then I can pull in with my arms.
I think the reason I brought that example up is because I think people don't realize if you get your legs and your hips more explosive, or because you're an Olympic lifter, it carries over to things maybe, like D-ball to shoulder or bar muscle ups or even handstand push-ups.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep. Yeah. I try.
It's a hidden secret.
I try bringing that up all the time because like the first time I went to do a ring muscle up, I could. Yeah. And it was because I knew how to use my hips. I'm not trying to go with bent arms, do a half strict, half kipping.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, my hips are way more powerful than my arms will ever be. I'm going to use all hips as long as I can.
So what do you say when someone's like, I have been doing this Olympic lifting stuff for 3 weeks and it is not working?
Oh my God. Yeah. I used to coach some weightlifting classes at my old gym. And, I remember getting talked to one time. Jade came to me. He was like, hey, there's been some complaints. They're saying that you sit behind the jerk blocks at the end of the weightlifting hall, because it's just like a long, narrow room with all the platforms right in line. And so as a weightlifting coach, I'm like, I want to sit where I can see everyone at once. And then I would sit and just like they would do a lift, and they would lift one at a time, so I could watch every single person and give feedback to every single person. And Jade was like, yeah, you're just sitting off to the side and like shouting across the room. I was like, that's exactly what I'm doing. And he was like, oh, they want you to be a little bit more hands-on. I was like, this is weightlifting. I'm like, this is how I was coached. This is how I coach.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
like
Sometimes
you don't touch the bar unless I'm watching.
Yeah.
And you're going to get feedback on every single rep that you do. This is a good one. And this one I think is going to apply to most people.
I'm nervous.
Why would I take time away from my METCONS and rowing intervals, or just cardio in general, to work on the Olympic lifts?
Oh my gosh, we just covered all of that. I was actually having a conversation today with the person who remained nameless to say it's really freaking hard to do something that's uncomfortable and to take a step away from what you're most comfortable doing and trust that something else is going to make you better.
It's very tough the first time taking a step backwards.
It is very tough to take a step back. But if you can take that step back, and if you can trust in the program and what we're giving you, and knowing that we don't want to set you up for failure. We don't want to do something that's going to be like, well, guess what? You're going to get worse. Like, that's not our intention. And if you can take a step back and trust, and if you can work on the little things every single day, just work on those little things, then in a few weeks, even then again in a few months, all of those little things are going to become really big things. Mm-hmm. And that like all of that hard work you're putting in that is uncomfortable, it seems monotonous, boring, because you're like, oh my God, I've done this same clean and jerk complex for 6 weeks. I'm so over it. And then all of a sudden you come in on one day and you have one clean and one jerk, and you're like, oh, wow, am I strong?
Yeah.
And it's like, then you start to see that hard work paying off. But change is scary for anyone. Regarding anything, change is scary.
Yep.
But if you look and you keep doing the same thing you've always done, and you're expecting to get better without making those changes, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
Yeah. How do you avoid burnout when it comes to training?
Weightlifting programs are really hard. It takes a tough person to come in every single day one and do the same thing you've done for 6 weeks, especially for CrossFitters who are used to so much variety every day. Mm-hmm. It is really hard to come in and spend 2.5 hours on lifting. And it's easy to get burnt out from that because you want change. And CrossFitters especially, they want to like all of this change, all of these new stimuluses. It's like, wait, I've already been doing this stimulus. And I think a good way to avoid burnout, first, take care of your recovery. But also, I'm really big on daily goals. So it's like, set daily goals for yourself. Or you see what you're doing every Tuesday. Set a goal for that, you know? Like I have them, okay, what is your goal by December in this complex? Or what do you hope to do these squats at? Have goals for the program, but also have daily goals. Like today, I'm not going to have any misses. Today, I'm really going to make sure I have long arms in every lift. And so it's like little goals. And I think that really helps avoid burnout and gets you excited about training. And then when you do something like a row and your legs feel so much stronger, or you do your kettlebell deadlifts and you're like, oh my God, I was able to apply what I do in my clean to those kettlebell deadlifts. And then all of a sudden that stuff starts trickling in and you see that and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm getting better.
You start getting that little, whether it's, in a single exercise, single training session, single day,
little glimpses.
Those little pats on the back or gratifications of like, oh, okay, I see how it's applying here or there and benefiting.
And I think too, to avoid burnout, you okay, maybe for 4 to 6 weeks, this is going to be boring and it's going to be hard and I'm going to be putting in this work day in and day out. But I'm so excited to see what happens in 6 weeks. Like, where does this put me in 6 weeks and in 6 months, right? And then you're like, oh, all right, that's it. I'm going to do this forever.
This has come up a lot already. 4 ways to train your mind.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I think we could talk for an hour and a half on this one.
Yeah.
Alone.
So let me try to be super. I want to answer, then I want to hear what you say your thoughts first.
Ways to train your mind. I don't know if I have like concrete rules written out. One that I know, like I've seen you saying to the athletes that I used to do before every training session is like, what is your goal of this training session?
Which is what we just talked about, setting a goal for the training session.
And for myself, with training for everything, there's a lot of days that I'm going in not feeling ideal. And then looking at the METCON that I have to do, and it's like, okay, I know say I've done this workout before and I have a time to compare it to. I'm like, I'm not chasing that time with what I did over the last 3 days or how recovery, whatever it is. That's not applicable here. So I'm going to set a different goal for the workout. I'm going to try to do all my ring muscle ups unbroken. Even if my overall time is slower, I'm setting up these little goals in the workout that, okay, what makes this training a success? And so I'm going to make sure to have running transitions. I'm going to make sure to go unbroken on this or whatever it was, picking a goal. Another way to train my mind, the one that I found really helpful was finding the silver lining in situations. Even if it was total bullshit, like it's just a bad situation, making sure that the first thing out of my mouth when I got a piece of bad news or something that I didn't like to hear was good. And then just making up a reason. But it was more just like that mental reaction of hearing bad news and then not dwelling on it and going down this like negative rabbit hole.
Right. So it's not reacting with emotion right away, but
the first reaction is good, XYZ. So like when I would split my time between Vermont and Tennessee, when I would go to my Vermont gym, it had, under 6 foot ceilings. It was 175 square feet. It was this tiny little place. And I would think, good, this is my training dungeon. Like nobody, like this creates grit.
Right.
Because there's no windows, there's no fans, there's no vents. It was just a cement basement room that was miserable to train in. But I'm like, if I can get good here, I'm going to be grittier than anyone else. And then as soon as I would travel to my house in Tennessee, the gym was over double the size, 10-foot ceilings. I had more equipment. It was better in every way imaginable. I want good. This is like a pristine science lab where I have the resources of everything. I have the best training possible. This is where I'm going to like become a stud, you know?
Yeah.
And so no matter what the situation was, finding a way to justify it is good.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I think, and so the ways to train your mind, so many people train alone right now, right? Especially since the pandemic, they're in their garages alone. And it's like, well, I don't have anyone to train with me. I don't have anyone watching me. There's no energy. And it's like, good. Because guess what? You are going to become so gritty and tenacious in this situation. If you can go and pick up the barbell, or if you can keep your run paces alone, think of what you're going to do with the energy. Like, that's a good thing. But I think to keep a strong mind is, you know, it's really hard sometimes to be confident, especially when you have bad days or you miss a lot or you are not making your marks on your row intervals or whatever. And it's easy to be like, well, today just was bad. And what I try to do is say, okay, you know what? Maybe today was less than perfect, but what did we learn from this so that we can make it better tomorrow?
Yep.
Like, what did we learn from these bad things? No, I don't feel like any training day is bad. And like you said, maybe you're feeling tired or maybe your body is just beat up and you just need a rest day, but you have that one last training session and you know that you're not going to be your best. Pick one thing you can be the best at and do it so well. Like you said, you know, the muscle ups or whatever. And it's like, you know, on training days, sometimes you come in and your body's tired and you may not be able to do your snatch sets at 85%. Maybe you go down to 70%, but you go down to 70% and make them the best 70% of your life.
Yeah.
And doing those things and focusing on the good things and the wins, that is going to help you become more confident. And the more confident you become, the more consistent you become. The more consistent you become, the more confident you become. And it's like this cycle towards greatness, really, if you can focus on that. But so many times people you have that little negative guy on your shoulder that like whispers all the doubts and fears.
Yeah, my guy's not that little.
Okay, maybe it's a huge guy and the voice is overbearing. But the more that you look at that voice or you face that voice and say, you know what? Yeah, I am afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. I am tired, but I am going to do it. This is really tough, but I'm tougher, you know? And I think the more that you can like change the narrative in your mind when that negative voice and when that doubt comes in, the more that you don't have to like try to ignore it. It's like Sammy baking a big old batch of gluten-free brownies, hint, hint, and puts them on the counter. And all day I'm like, I'm not going to eat those brownies. I'm not going to eat the brownies. All you think about is the brownies.
Yeah.
And that's with the voice. If you try to ignore it, it's still going to be there whispering. So you just have to like address it and be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, maybe last time I did miss one, 355. But I'm more consistent now. I've been training harder. And what I did then has no bearing on what I do today. And so I'm going to treat today new. Mm-hmm. And the more that we can like change the narrative and focus on the good things, the more I think you become mentally tough in that. And it sounds cheesy. Like, okay, well, I'm just going to like talk myself up. But sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to boost your ego and be like, you know what? I am freaking tough. I have been working hard. I am so strong. I am so amazing. F that voice. I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast. I am going to do this anyway because I don't care how tough it is. I am tougher because I have done all of these things in training to prove that. And I am going to prove it to myself right now. And then those little wins, even if it's the smallest win, then you're like, what am I proud of today?
It's the first domino of
exactly.
like get one little thing and then your eyes are open to the positive stuff.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of work every day. You can't just do it once and be like, guys, I'm not mentally tough yet. Like if it were that easy, we'd all be champions. You know what I mean? Like you have to put in the work.
What is the HWPO LIFT program?
The most amazing thing in the world. HWPO LIFT is going to be a 5-day lifting program. It's the first.
Just to clarify, 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yes. Not just 5 days total and you're done. It's going to be a 5-day-a-week program. And the first cycle is going to be 12 weeks. And that first 12 weeks is really going to focus on building positional strength and consistency and like stability, but also working on getting your legs stronger. But the most amazing thing about it is going to have 5 complementary CrossFit workouts.
This is a very important thing.
Very important thing.
I overheard you talking about this the other day of, hey, like if somebody's doing this program, they're still going to want to do their conditioning or their METCON. So they're going to find it somewhere. So we want to make sure that it's not adding, insult to injury of like, all right, you're doing this training and now you're doing something that's going to hinder this training. So here, I'm going to write you the conditioning or the METCON that's going to pair well with this workout, with this weightlifting, to keep it the priority, but then you still get your fix of doing your functional.
Because what's going to happen, and when we were creating HWPO Lift, it's like there's weightlifting programs all over the internet. And if we put out HWPO Lift without CrossFit, they're going to go find their CrossFit from somewhere, whether they do the workout of the day at their local gym or they find it on the internet from their favorite CrossFit celebrity did it. And they're going to mix these things in and then they're going to be like, well, my lifting isn't
not working.
And nothing's working.
Yeah.
Well, when you mix two programs together, it very rarely works. So this is like, okay, this is what we're going to do today. And then we're putting rowing conditioning in and bike conditioning and METCONs, and we're complementing the program so that the program works together to make you successful rather than competes with each other for attention.
Yep. Perfect.
Which is awesome.
and I think an important note is that all the conditioning work is intended to be and to stay optional. This is a weightlifting program, but if you want some conditioning work, you want your METCONs, there's something in there. But I think we're intending that most people do this as just a weightlifting program.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's basically going to serve both. The weightlift, if you want to do the weightlifting program just by itself, it's going to be an amazing program. If you are a CrossFitter looking to better your weightlifting and you still need to do that conditioning or that, have that CrossFit in there, it's going to be an amazing program because, our HWPO Lift team is putting those conditioning workouts in there. And we've talked at length about like what's best to put this day so it doesn't mess up your legs tomorrow. And it really complements each other. And so it is optional every day, and it's like, okay, let's say you finish we always want you to lift first.
Yes.
Get your lifting done first. And then afterwards, if you're like, hey, I'm feeling really tired today, I don't feel really recovered, you can scale the CrossFit workout of the day accordingly. You can skip it all together, or you can do it and maybe just don't do it as a fast pace or whatever you need to do. So you do have the option to do it, scale it, or skip it.
kind of on the same topic. Who is this program for?
It's for everybody. It's for the beginner or novice person who maybe has only, it is definitely not designed for the person who's never done a snatch or clean and jerk before.
Yes.
Like you have to have exposure to that.
Knowing what these things are, at least half familiar with them.
Exactly. At least be familiar with the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Yep.
But maybe you don't have a lot of exposure to them or you want to get better at them. I think it still would be appropriate for the beginner or novice, and will be appropriate for the advanced. It's going to be really good for everyone in between. But, of course it's not an individualized program. And so the program is designed with the whole population in mind. That's something like most people need help on and most people will benefit from. So even if you are very good at the snatch and clean and jerk and you have great numbers and your movement's pretty good, it's still going to make you better. It's going to make you move better. It's going to make you more consistent. It's going to make you stronger and more explosive. And then for the beginner, it's really going to set a really good foundation for you that you can just continue to grow upon. Yeah. Yeah. I hope more beginners start getting the proper knowledge earlier on. I mean, I'm really hoping we get a lot of beginners so that we can set them up for success. Developing bad habits and then having to break them and take 5 steps backwards, take 6 steps forward. It's like, hey, let's just start training the correct way. Yeah, right from the get-go. Program on a silver platter to build you the best foundation. So this question, I think, is going to be very important once people are in the program and training properly, which is most likely different than how most people are doing their lifting now. How does somebody know if they're getting stronger without maxing out all the time? I think I think that, first of all, I think PRs come in so many forms. I don't think you have to have a number increase to be like, oh, I'm getting stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I think that some people actually try to max out too often. And it's
Some people or all people?
okay, everybody minus 2 tries to max out too often without setting their foundation. And like, do you know what a fall apart weight is? It's like a weight you get to in the snatch where everything falls apart and goes to sorry, bleep. And I think people get to that fall apart weight and they start like gripping and ripping, heave ho, banana slam.
Oh, I'll pull extra hard this time.
I'll pull extra hard. I'm gonna really get tight. I'm really gonna push with my legs, and then it looks like completely different than everything you've ever done. I think that an important lesson is to learn is, let's say you can do 80% really well. It's so good, and then 85%. Some days it's good. Some days it's like a pull and pray. Like you have to hope. You know, you make it by the hair on your chinny chin. Our hope is to get pretty soon 85% becomes one of those weights that you can hit every day, no matter what. And then 88% is one of those like maybe, and then 90% is like no way. And then pretty soon 88% becomes so consistent you can hit it on any day with good movement, with confidence. And then maybe 90% is like the hit or miss, and then 93% is like once a year. And to keep growing like that. And so I think you'll know that you're getting stronger because you'll be like, oh my God, I have never snatched 85 that easy. Or I have never snatched 80% of my 1 rep max for a triple. Or, oh my gosh, I have never front squatted that for a triple so easily without looking like a dog taking a poop in the yard.
It's not just based off 1 reps, but like we're familiar with it with, you know, something as simple as like, hey, no more weight belt for the next 6 months, and then seeing movement quality skyrocket. And it's like, okay, we're counting those as, you know, PR markers, or like we're trending in the right direction. We're getting better in some facet, even if it's not the 1 rep maxes right now, but we know that with these higher reps, lower weights, different variables of like taking off the weight belt or, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
It's like, okay, we see the progress getting made. It's not in the 1 rep yet because we're not there yet. But, you know,
we may not be at 1 rep max ready. You know, we'll do heavy single days and see where you are, but we may not be 1 rep max ready till like 3, maybe even 6 months in. Because maybe we had to take 5 steps back to take all these steps forward. But then it's going to be like, oh, that's good. But you have to like take the small wins. We talked about this earlier, like how much better you're moving, how much more consistent are. What is your miss to make ratio? Are you making more lifts than missing before? I don't think it's successful when you go in and it takes 8 misses to make a 90% lift. Like I want to make that 90% on the first time. If you can then go from missing it 5 times in order to make it to making it on the first time, you're getting stronger. Your movement's getting better. Your positional strength is increasing. And like, what a great thing that is, because it's like, especially in CrossFit, you have to be consistent. Like you said, what if I have to move 155 25 times? But in training, it takes you 10 attempts to get to 175. So.
There's all those little markers along the way. It's not just all about
all
the 1 rep maxes.
It's not always about 1 rep max. Didn't you say once, like in an interview, or maybe you told me that sometimes you would wait and PR at competition? You like wouldn't even PR in your training session, or am I mishearing that?
No, I would have that. You know, the week prior, I would line up my tapers so that if I were to max out, it would be on day 1 of competition. So usually, you know, 4 or 5 days prior to, that's when you're going for like your heavy-ish back squat, or like your 1 rep heavy back squat. And so a lot of times I would never finish my strength cycles. I would do the second to last day and then leave the last day for the first day of competition. And sometimes a lift would come up, other times it wouldn't, but
you were prepared for anything.
But for me, I'm like, I don't care what my lift actually is. I want to be running at 100% capacity. So whatever that 100% is, I don't really care. It's just making sure that if it comes up, my body's tuned up, I'm tapered, and I'm ready to go for it.
Yeah, and I think that is such a valuable point. Like what my 100% is right now, I don't care. Am I moving better? Am I being more consistent? And am I making more lifts than ever before? Do they feel better than they ever, have? Am I more stable overhead, or do I look like the inflatable tube man on top of the car dealership? Like, there's so many things that you can look at as progress. And I think people forget to that because they're so number focused.
Yep. 100%. All right. Well, don't want to take up any more time. Thank you guys for joining. HWPO Lift is coming soon.
Thank you. Go team. High five.
Showering of those compliments.
Wait.